But yeah, it is. It's a fucking crazy opener.
It's a smasher of an opener, and it's what they used to actually close out a lot of their live gigs with for quite a long time when they were touring as well. I mean, that's a banger of a closer for a gig, really, in fairness. What did you guys make of Battery?
I really enjoyed it, actually. I thought it was a really good song. Like, in fairness, as I said, I wouldn't have been a huge Metallica fan. So when I put on the album at first and I heard that, it was kind of like drinking orange juice when you're expecting milk, because I was like, I thought it was Master of Puppets was the first song on Master of Puppets. So I just was like, do I have the right album even? But no, after that initial just dislocation lifted, it was a really good song. It sets up the album perfectly.
Definitely.
Continue on.
I was just rocking out to it in the kitchen there the other day. Really enjoying it.
With Mark hiding weights behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
Booby traps.
Well, in fairness, as you said, I mean, it's a perfect kind of an album for either just kind of bopping around the house or for going for, proper stellar workout or anything like that, because you put that on when you're going for a jog and you're going to fucking do a mile a minute, basically.
But it's exactly. Like, it's a breakneck speed fucking song to open up an album with, and then go straight into Master of Puppets, which is even fucking faster.
Yeah.
And like, of course,
228 beats per minute or something like that.
But like, the genius of Master of Puppets is it's nearly 9 minutes long. It's a lot of people thought that it was about addiction, and it can be seen as addiction. And like, the whole thing that Hetfield was saying was that he always wanted to be really, really cautious, not to have any song where it's like, it's definitely about this and it's definitely about that. So like Master of Puppets could be like millions of different things.
He wanted them to be open to interpretation, did he?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's kind of draw your own conclusions. It's kind of like this is something that is a little bit open to interpretation, as you said, and
I really like that about songs,
though,
that you're able to kind of make up your own kind of conclusion as to what it is about. Like, there's underlying tones in it.
Exactly. So I mean, like, you might listen to it and you might kind of think, that I really relate to this personally on this level because it speaks to me because of my past experiences. I listen to it and I hear something else because of my past, and I think that's the genius of some of their lyrics.
Starter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I always think that's it's a really powerful form of art. The one thing that I just always think is annoying is when someone who thinks they're like a bit pretentious always comes and goes, no, this like not to do with the artist now, mind you. It's usually someone who's like just coming in reviewing, going, "This is what they meant," and if you say anything else, you're wrong. And you're just like, "No, you're just
that's not what music's about, really.
That's not what any art's about." But like a lot of people tend to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, that's Master of Puppets has that whole kind of genius sort of. It's got like three different movements in it.
It's great. It's closest to classical. I think it's the thing that there wasn't really much like that before. Maybe some prog rock stuff in the 70s, but like this is definitely the first time in heavy music. And like, and especially at this level where you had like fucking Spanish guitars brought into it, kind of like, but the pace, it changes so much. It's like an opera nearly.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much. I mean, you have kind of the slow break in the middle, and it's just, and to get metalheads as well singing along to it, and everyone knows the words and chatting back and all this kind of stuff, and everyone then kind of breaks down in the middle, and they're all like, "Oh my god, I'm really feeling this, man!" Oh. I
think one of the reasons why I really like that old school movie is because of Master of Puppets when they were in the van going around getting the pledges.
That's true.
I'd forgotten about that movie entirely until you brought it up there.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Frank the Tank.
Yeah. Chug. But yeah, I mean, like, that's, and Master of Puppets as well. I mean, like, obviously that's the title of the album and all the rest, and you have the iconic, the album art and all the rest. I mean, that's kind of endured. 1986, people are still walking around wearing that t-shirt today. Anybody sees it, straight away. You're kind of like, oh, Master of Puppets. Yeah, you can, and it's so easily sort of identifiable, even from fucking 500 paces away. You're kind of like, oh, Metallica fan.
Paces.
Yes, 500 paces. Paces away.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us.
Yeah, even after kind of, or before listening to them, you would have been able to like distinguish one of those t-shirts from
exactly.
a mile away.
You see the white crosses and you're like, all right, that's Master. And you don't, it's just it's seeped into pop culture.
That's what used to put me off Metallica a lot, was I never liked the t-shirts, and I was like, oh, fucking not listen to them. As well, because I just had this corny kind of like thrash band because I used to listen to kind of heavier stuff, and I was like, fucking Metallica, fuck you.
They're too mainstream, man. Yeah.
You were a hipster before hipsters were things.
Oh yeah, of course it was.
Exactly. Mad hipster, exactly.
And then kind of like from Master of Puppets, it goes into the thing that should not be the only one that they recorded specifically in the studio or put together in the studio because they felt like they needed something to break it up. with it, and all about your buddy Mark Cthulhu.
Cthulhu, yes, Lovecraftian influence and all the rest. So, what did you guys make of that song?
It was good now. I really enjoyed it, but my favourites of it would have been Battery would have been because it just pulled me into the album, and then Welcome Home, Sanitarium I would have really liked, and then third probably on that album would be Disposable Heroes. But the thing that should not be, that's not saying that's a bad song by any means of sense. It's just those were my standouts. That is a really good song. As I said before, it's just really good. What I just was surprised about before was I think the only time I'd heard Metallica before, I think I'd heard the shortened down version of Master of Puppets, so I assumed that was just that version of Master of Puppets. So when I'm listening to it the first time, I was actually just listening to it with Jen, and we were like, well, I didn't say it to you, but at the time I was like, is this still the same song? And then it goes back into it. It was that little lull where it's
to be fair, that was my fault, because when we were in the car, I went to put on the album, but I actually put on one song.
Oh, that was a different day, yeah. But another day we were listening to it. Instead of putting on Master of Puppets, the album, we put on Master of Puppets, the song. So it took us 2 plays of it to realise, oh, this is just the song.
Yeah.
It was 6 minutes in, you're like, I don't think it's that long.
We're still really enjoying it though. It was kind of right. But for me, I think the Welcome Home, Sanitarium was my favourite.
That seems to be a standout for everyone. I think everyone seems to relate to it as well, because I suppose it's a scenario that everyone could imagine happening to them.
Well, it's the thing as well. I never really I stopped a little while ago because I thought the thing that should not be with the whole Lovecraft stuff. I was like, Cliff Burton was very much into that and got Hetfield into it, but I thought that was kind of Welcome Home, Sanitarium was another H.P. Lovecraft thing, because
you could say it kind of inspired by kind of Mountains of Madness and all that kind of stuff. But
it's like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Mark was saying that to me before we came on. He said, no, it's not about what you think it might be about. It's definitely about this. And you're wrong. I was like, all right. No room for interpretation.
And you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed of being so wrong. But I mean, again, Sanitarium.
I'm taking my vinyl and going home.
Sulking now. You're so sweet.
Sit in your check shirt, smoking your pipe.
Now I just want to buy a vinyl player though.
Yeah, you should do. So it's the best way to experience music, really. So we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, we will.
Indeed. But I mean, Sanitarium is pretty much I suppose, a standout for everybody in general. Consistently, I mean, there's people always do these polls online, like what's your top song of Master of Puppets, and Sanitarium tends to almost eke out sort of Master of Puppets when you do the vote and all the rest. I think because it has that, the mix between sort of the crush and heavy, and the sort of the beautiful soaring kind of chorusy guitars and all the rest, so people kind of get that.
And it's actually easy to play on the guitar as well.
It is. Even I can play it.
But it's very. Do you know, Limp Bizkit actually did a fucking brilliant cover version of it at Metallica were like inducted into like the Icon Hall of Fame by MTV, yeah. And Limp Bizkit did a cover of that, and it was actually fucking really, really, really good.
Limp Bizkit doing something good when wonders never cease. Jesus Christ, that's terrifying.
Someone did a cover. I can't remember who did a cover of Master of Puppets, but Korn did one, which was quite good as well. And Avril Lavigne was at it, actually. We're only talking about it. Yeah, she did a cover version of Fuel, which was absolutely dreadful.
Yes, I know.
And some 41 they did Master of Puppets, I think.
Possibly. There's actually there's a whole album of covers of Master of Puppets as well by other bands, which we can drop a link at some stage.
Sure, like, I mean, this is
Instagram.
The thing. All these songs are kind of like just, well, I suppose on side one, like Battery, Master Puppet, the thing that should be a Welcome Home. They're like, if you see them live, they nearly always play those songs. Whereas saying
those are the 3 songs that are after making it onto my Spotify playlist.
Good.
Whereas saying what would have been like side 2 on the album, kind of
they're
like
all kind of special ones that tend to only get rolled out.
Really, like Disposable Heroes is. I'd never up because I would have just thought that it was about people in the yard, but we're looking at the thing that where Hetfield was talking about. It's actually about old football players.
It's not about.
It's not about, but it was inspired by. And the little video that we saw where it was done over kind of like football players being carried off and bits, it was like, fuck, this is really good. Back to the front.
That was the original. It was the title of it, the Disposable Heroes. It was just a football commentary. Somebody said, look at our little disposable heroes. Just, bodies get broken and they're just like sent back out until they kind of can play no more, kind of thing. And I went, that's a really good phrase. I'm going to use that, and then he can just use it for any kind of. As we were talking about earlier on, you can kind of interpret how you want kind of thing. And a lot of people obviously choose to interpret it as regards war, which is which I think is what they're kind of aiming for, really.
The Leper Messiah isn't really open for interpretation, though. It is just about a preacher, kind of like a tele-evangelist,
yeah, exactly.
And I never really liked that. I don't mind it, but it's not.
If you had to pick the weakest song off the whole album, it probably would be Leper Messiah. And that's...
It's still a great song.
That's what I was going to say. That would probably be the strongest song off any other band's album. But it's the weakest song off this one, which will tell you how good.
It's like comparing Goebbels to Hitler.
Goebbels. Aye, Goebbels. Yeah. I love it.
But I suppose one of the big standout fucking ones on the whole album that was very, very different for it is Orion.
Yeah. Which not many bands do instrumentals in general.
Yeah.
And not many bands.
An 8-minute fucking one.
Exactly. Yeah. And not many bands then can claim to have their fans go absolutely bananas for it,
especially for that fucking time, like where they were like a thrash metal band where it's like knockouts
and to keep you interested. It's not easy with just instrumental.
That's and I mean they don't play it very often, but when they do roll it out, honest to Christ, stadiums, arenas, they go absolutely fucking
but it is very much kind of like Cliff Burton's thing, isn't it?
When you saw them, did they play what songs did they play off this album?
Master of Puppets, Thing That Should Not Be, and Sanitarium.
Those three.
It's
that tends to be those, alright. But yeah, I mean, like Orion is, and I mean, they closed it. They did a film called Through the Never, and that was the closer for the film, and that was actually almost leaves you with a little lump in your throat because after this big mad blazing film where it's a huge concert film and there's all these special effects and all this kind of stuff, the very end of the film it just goes down to it's just the four of them, just in absolute darkness with just a tiny spotlight, just them in the middle of nothing else, basically just playing Orion, and you're actually kind of like, oh, it's giving me a little lump in my throat. This music is actually like very touching and like very.
That's nice.
But it is. It's that's a fucking monster of an instrumental again as well.
It is. It's a bit like it's a testament to kind of like Cliff Burton.
And very few bands build an instrumental around a fucking bass either as well.
I'm sure. Well, like it is kind of like critically acclaimed, but I'm sure kind of like say further down the line it is going to be seen as kind of like this is classical music. This is kind of like kind of like the best that there is. And then of course there's Damage Incorporated, which.
I love Damage Incorporated. That's an absolute banger. She goes out an album as well. It's ridiculous. It's just fucking
ridiculous.
Ridiculous, you say? That's very racist. But I mean, it is. It's just frenetic. Fucking kick you in your face. Fucking. Blood will follow blood.
What? But
I guess any kind of music that provokes an emotion in you has done its job, really, hasn't it?
Hate.
Whether that's
rage,
hate or happiness, sadness. Regardless, if you have an emotion about a song, then they've kind of done their job because it means it's memorable in a sense.
I suppose it is if that's the emotion they wanted out of you.
But no, not even necessarily. But like, of course, they want you to like their songs, and every band wants to, get kind of, interest. But even if it's anger or frustration or whatever, at least it'll get you kind of, I don't
disdain.
Hooked slightly, where it's just like, you might not like that song, but you're probably kind of going to be like, that's interesting, or they do want you to provoke some sort of an emotion, I think.
Art needs to provoke, even if it's revulsion or hatred. Yes.
So would you go off listening to more Metallica and Master of Puppets after this? Would you revisit it?
Yay, conversion.
I think previously someone recommended to me I don't know if it's their latest album anymore. It was like, is Hard Words to Self-Destruct?
That's still their latest one.
I remember, as I said previously, I would have listened to a couple of their songs, and then someone went, "Oh, this is a great album. You should go listen to it." And I listened to it, and I did not enjoy that one at all. And I was like, maybe I don't like Metallica. Then I just kind of chalked it up to that. But after listening to this now, I'm like, no, maybe maybe the album's not for me, but maybe other ones that Metallica have released would be more up my alley. So I'll definitely go off and listen to them a bit more.
And I think it's opened up my mind. Sorry.
Try Ride the Lightning, I think, maybe, and the Black Album.
Ride the Lightning, the Black Album. Justice for All has one on it, but I think Justice for All isn't as good as some of the other ones.
It's very much love it or hate it.
Yeah, it's more kind of complex kind of songs on it. It's longer songs, and it's when they were in a bad place after Cliff Burton dying. The Black Album, you like the Black. Everyone likes the Black Album. It's up there with the Beatles' White Album.
Definitely check it out.
Load and Reload are two of my favourite.